Jose. Hello, my name is Jose.
Welcome.
I love comics
with Jose,
and I want to share them with you.
My name is Jose.
I love
Follow
comics
me on Twitter,
and I want to share them with you.
Art of J Velez.
Follow me on Twitter
At Art of J
Instagram
Velez.
at jvelez622.
Instagram
at jvelez.
I share comics
622
that I'm working on.
I share
as
comics
well as a couple doodles
that I'm
and
working
drawings
on
that I do
as well as
for fun. A couple doodles
Make
and
sure to
drawings
like,
that I do
follow, and subscribe.
for fun.
If you like this channel,
Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
if you like this channel.
Today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite issues ever. This is Uncanny X-Men Annual number 10. This is from 1986, and it features art by the one and only Arthur Adams. Now I want to kind of explain a little bit. Arthur Adams is a phenomenal artist. Unfortunately, he is not able to do a monthly duty, and nowadays mostly does covers. He just takes a lot of time to get monthly comics done, so there are very few that he does. But in the beginning, he was a monthly guy, or rather, even then, he wasn't too monthly. He did special projects though, like annuals, and I believe this was his second annual. I believe he did annual number 9 and the New Mutants special prior to this, where Storm and the New Mutants ended up in Asgard. That is a very cool one. But I thought I'd share this one because this one is pretty self-contained. I read this when it first came out back in 1986. Just thought it was so cool. It was very fresh. This is probably during Chris Claremont, who wrote this. Second, I guess you could say maybe his third wind. This was right during the Mutant Massacre era, where the X-Men were. So I believe Chris Claremont's best time frame was when he was collaborating with John Byrne, where they did Proteus, where they did the Dark Phoenix saga, and then Days of Futures Past. He then had kind of another resurgence when I believe they did From the Ashes, where they tricked the X-Men into thinking Jean Grey had returned using Madeline Pryor. That was a very cool story. And then the Mutant Massacre, I think, was his next best. Uncanny, when you're in a title for a long time, you get peaks and you get valleys, and Chris Claremont is no exception. Some things were really good, some things were kind of hit and miss, but during a stretch, I believe between 85 to 88, he was really hitting on all cylinders again. Was putting on some really, really, really good stories. And this is one of them. So we'll start here with this cover. I bought this off the rack on the supermarket. I begged my grandfather to get this for me. I had just gotten into X-Men. I was not an X-Men kind of person, but a friend of mine in middle school he said I had to read the X-Men, so I started devouring the X-Men. Started with the classic X-Men and just became a huge fan. And when I moved from when I moved from Puerto Rico, I used to live in Puerto Rico, that's where I was born. We moved to Orlando, and went to a comic book store, and I would never been to one, and I started getting into some back issues, and I just thought this was a glorious time for me. with this. So we'll start here. Oh, wanted to make a. This here is the return of Longshot. Longshot had been Arthur Adams' co-creation, and that was his first work. He had not appeared since, I believe, a six-issue limited series written by Ann Nocenti. One of the things that grabbed me from this cover is seeing the X-Men as children and introducing these. I had no idea who these were. I did not know that Chris Claremont wrote the New Mutants during that time. I had no idea there was anything else. So I was like, "Oh, are these new X-Men?" Didn't know what it was. I had never heard of Longshot. Of course, I know now, and later who he was. But at that time, he was new to me. So uh, here we go. So Arthur Adams, I believe, is an inspiration to a lot of the Image guys, which is why I wanted to cover this. Arthur Adams has a lot of the mannerisms, a lot of the posings, a lot of the really cool. I mean, look at Wolverine, where he inspired all these Image guys: Mark Silvestri, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee. I I think he was an inspiration to them. Unfortunately, like I said, Arthur Adams is just not able to maintain a deadline. So I think that's why he does a lot of covers. But when he does do stuff, people notice. Um, the Fantastic Four run, not really, just the couple issues he did of the new Fantastic Four with Walter Simonson. He did 2 issues of X Factor. I think he does 2 more annuals for the X Men, and then I think he does a few things for Dark Horse, Godzilla project. He does. I think he does a creator-owned Monkey Brian or Monkey Man and O'Brien. He does, he does a few things here and there, but he just doesn't put out consistent. Most of the time, he makes his living off covers, which are fantastic. So here, the X-Men are in the Danger Room. During this era, Magneto was a good guy. He had turned face after being a heel all this time, and Magneto replaced Charles Xavier. Charles Xavier was missing for a very, very long time. Charles Xavier did not return until the end of Chris Claremont's run in Uncanny X-Men. He was in outer space with the Shi'ar during this time, so Magneto became the head of the of the school. He wasn't really with the X-Men, but he was sort of Xavier took Xavier's place. And they're here in the Danger Room. Also, during this time, Storm had no powers. Her powers had been taken away. So, um, one of the really cool things is just his his compositions. He tries to keep everybody moving. Wolverine's always in cool positions. If you take a look at a lot of his sketches, if you Google Arthur Adams Wolverine, you will see a ton of wonderful sketches that he has done of Wolverine. Um, he does very muscular men, beautiful women, just dynamic poses. Like McFarlane, he doesn't quite go to the extreme with the cape, but you can see the cape. It's not just flowing. I mean, he really makes it with basically you gotta I gotta it's like shoulder pads. McFarlane takes this to the nth degree, as seen in that Batman um, year one or year two, sorry, that we went over. Just amazing stuff. So they're trying to play tag. All they have to do is touch Magneto. and he gets the best of them. So here is a group called the New Mutants, or at least three of them, and they are kind of like future X-Men. There are new ones that Xavier took over and brought them in. And then this is the reintroduction of Psylocke. Psylocke had been introduced, I believe, in a New Mutants or Annual into the United States. I believe in she'd been part of that Marvel UK, but during this time they kind of brought her into the main. During this time she was a white woman with purple hair before the body swap, which happens at a later time during the Jim Lee run. And she is going to go to the X-Men. Now, something, this is 1986, and not that it was ever appropriate, but they don't really show her age, but I know she's an adult. These are supposed to be teenagers, and I believe she has, or they, a relationship with Cypher, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the most useless characters that there are. His ability is just he's able to translate things. This is mutant power. That's it. It Chris Claremont did more than I think anybody. I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, sometimes things stick. Sometimes things don't. Cypher never stuck with me. I thought it was a useless power, but they made it work. So, um, something else is then going on. This is the introduction of Mojo, who is a even back in the day, the start of reality TV, before reality TV was a thing. He is an like an interdimensional movie or TV show producer, and he likes what he sees with the X-Men. So he wants to create a story with them. So and Spiral becomes you'll have to forgive me. Spiral does end up coming back, but she's got a thing with Wolverine. Um uh, but I cannot remember at this time. It has been forever since I'm sometimes looking at these relooking at these with right here, just going by memory. Um but it's not important. But you can look her up. There's a really cool website out there called the. It's a Marvel wiki, and you can look up any character and kind of get their origin. So for those of you unaware of that, there's just Google Marvel wiki. WIKI, and you'll get a database. There's also one for DC, and you can get origins on just on everybody. So he hits this button, which causes like a portal to open. This is really cool. Every time Wolverine, this happens in every issue. Every time he pops his claws, it says "snicked," and it's always spelled that way. And so that's the symbol for his claws. Again, look at the capes. McFarlane really went into this with the capes. That's why I keep saying Arthur Adams was an inspiration. Also, if you remember, Spider-Man had a cameo, a short appearance on the Longshot miniseries, and the webbing, how he does the webbing, is what inspired Todd McFarlane to do the webbing for Spider-Man. So lots of cool stuff here with Arthur Adams. So Longshot, who will be revealed to be Longshot, is coming from this thing, and this if you look at this, there's kind of like goo here, or that's what it's supposed to be. It's not just energy, but there's actual goo in here. It's on him and it's on all of the X-Men, kind of creating like a slime, like a something, which is going to be important to the story as we go on. I want to pause real quick to the lettering. is done by the great Tom Orzechowski, who works with Todd McFarlane now on Spawn, and has been working, I think, on every issue except one or two. He's done pretty much everything. Tom Orzechowski, uh, like John Workman Jr., is one of the three the three best letterers in the business. John Workman, Tom Orzechowski, and Todd Klein are the three just amazing, and they just have such a unique style. When you read these comic books, you become very familiar when these one of these three does these letterings, because they're so unique in how they letter. So, uh, Nightcrawler is German, so you'll always see him use a some kind of German phrase. Colossus is Russian, so he'll once also use some kind of Russian phrase here and there. So they're trying to see if they can find out who he is, and so she's trying to read his mind. Um, and Suddenly the little goo kind of cleans itself out. And back in the day, and this is actually pretty cool. Do you see? If you see everything, everything's in red. They used to. Nowadays with computer coloring, everything is just done. Everybody gets colored. But back in the day, when they wanted to bring attention at something, they just kind of just focused on a color, and they just made everybody. So if you take a look here, all of them are in red. Everything. Um, I just think that that's kind of cool. It's something that's not really done nowadays. Um, Another thing you'll see here is kind of the tax. You also see, like McFarlane, Arthur Adams does a lot of tax on the faces. Um, Black is not always rendered, um, but minimal marks. Um, so the next day, through the dialogue, you can see that she's acting sort of like high. This is not very typical. She's acting like a kid, and when she hears a scream, this is from the New Mutants. These are New Mutant characters. She's the leader of the New Mutants, Danny, and Kitty is now like a child, and this is her pet dragon, Loki. And so they notice that all the X-Men are so much younger. Um, and Most likely due to all that goo. So the X-Men are now turning younger than the New Mutants. So here they show that everybody has gone too much younger. They're all lusting after Longshot, which is his first introduction to the rest of the Marvel Universe. He was in a limited series. It did have She-Hulk, it did have Spider-Man, but it was a solo series, and I think Claremont brought Longshot so that because of Arthur Adams doing this issue, but she ended up keeping him. So there's a lot of he becomes a staple of the X-Men for a couple years. So as you can see, Wolverine's going back, kind of like, oh, girls are they're girls, elf, dumb bunnies. So he calls Nightcrawler elf all the time. Dumb bunnies, got no taste and less brains. It's kind of similar to how boys act in middle school. Girls, and just love the expression. Look at them, just and all the little hearts. Um, and So the New Mutants kind of want to see what's going on, and um, Warlock is an alien from another planet. He does have the ability to merge with others, but him and Cypher struck up a friendship, and that's actually Warlock. Cypher actually was brought in so that he could speak with Warlock, um, and they merged, and the the X-Men, discover his name is Longshot. I just love the little hearts in there. Um, so loved again the same thing as the other time with the coloring. Just everybody's blue. Um, Here Nightcrawler is colored. Everybody's kind of white. Just something that was done back in the day. They don't, like I said, they don't really do it now. It's made so that you just kind of focus. I don't know. That was at least um the reasoning. So the X-Men want to go fight the villain, but the New Mutants are on their way. Just Wolverine acting like a 12-year-old is kind of funny, even though he he still sort of looks the same. But um, Arthur Adams is very good at drawing Wolverine, which is probably why Wolverine is the character most associated with Arthur Adams for whatever reason. Um, so he discovers, and here it is, all in red. He discovers what's going on, but as soon as they turn, like Magneto calls them babies. He uses his magnetism to electrocute them, and then they walk away. Here they make him red. They're all orange. Just stuff that was done back in the day. I shouldn't fawn over it like I do, but it's just kind of cool 'cause you just don't see that in modern comic books anymore. Um, so here they go. And now you can see the X-Men are getting much, much younger. Now they're all purple. Um, and kind of getting into trouble. This becomes referred to as the X babies. There is uh, they come back for limited time in other adventures, but they're no longer the same people. They're just like um, creations. So it's not like this keeps happening to the X Men over and over. So they get away from the police and they're trying to get Mojo. If you notice, like I said, the X Men now are getting younger and they're arguing. And just Chris Claremont was during this time just hitting on all strides, just hitting on all cylinders. And he leaves them, and now suddenly Longshot is also becoming one of them. So I love Magneto's face, just ready to cry. This is before Google, so Arthur Adams had to just use photo reference. I'm quite sure to get these faces going like that. If he kayfabed them, that's pretty cool. Um, Kayfabe, I think, is a term. It's a wrestling term. But it's when you just kind of make it up. Um, and his powers are gone mostly because he's too young, and mutants don't normally get the X gene until they're much older. The X gene is what is referred to as what gives these powers to these mutants. Um, Mutants were created by the X Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in the '60s as a substitute for the civil rights movement. He created a group that would bear the brunt of, as opposed to actually bringing in the civil rights movement into Marvel, he created the X Men. The X Men represented uh, blacks and the mutant hatred that was put in into the X-Men. So that was the way that Marvel kind of showed real world events. It's just instead of turning it against blacks, he turned it against what they perceive mutants. Mutants are they're born with their powers. So unlike Spider-Man, who gained his powers, or Captain America, who was given his powers, same thing with the Hulk. They're born with it. So for some reason, in comic books, that made them worse, or it was something that was used as, like I said, it's comic books. It's not too complicated. It's not too overthinking. It was just basically for the civil rights movement, is what. But the X Men became so popular, it just continued and continued and continued. So, um, Wolverine, love the snake. Wolverine was about to get in, but Storm opened the door for them, and they are finding kind of what's going on. Um, I just love this. It's so cool. Golly gumbucks. Just his face, their faces. Just Arthur Adams is a very good, and you can just see how all these future image creators, particularly McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Mark Silvestri, who I think are the true reasons. They are truly the true reason that Image is successful. I understand Eric Larson and Savage Dragon. I know some people like it. I read a couple of issues. It's very good stuff. But Eric Larson and Jim Valentino and even Rob Liefeld, to a degree, if those three would have left on their own and McFarlane, Lee, and Silvestri don't go along with them, Image doesn't exist. Image Comics exists because of McFarlane, Lee, and Silvestri. And I think Arthur Adams is an inspiration to them. So here the New Mutants are kind of waking up. Um, a lot of hatching, and so that they don't fill the face with black, just a little bit of black spotting, but a lot of hatching. They were looking for a Professor X, who is obviously not there anymore. They're trying to scan them with Cerebro, but are unable to find it. Cerebro is a mutant searching like machine that Professor X had invented. It's how he finds mutants. And so they go into this chest. I like how they kept everything in the chest. Chests aren't really used anymore. But I used to have a chest in my house. I'd open it and it just was you never knew what to find in there. So um and here is their costumes. Now Warlock, I love it. It's just Warlock, and here's Cypher. It's basically a Cyclops. If you take a Cyclops, is not a member of the X Men during this time. He's an X Factor, but I this is I don't know why he needs them, just to look cool, I guess. This is essentially a Cyclops costume with a vest. Um, uh, that's about it. They're pretty cool. I actually dig most of these. I love Cannonball. Uh, his because he flies very fast. He's got the crash helmet. So I don't mind these. I don't believe they made appearances again. These costumes I think were one and done. They never, even when the New Mutants went from their uniforms to costumes, I don't believe they used these. They may have. I really did not when I was reading comic books during this time. New Mutants was just another book, and even Claremont, I believe, left after like 52 or 53, and then Louise Simonson took over them. Um, and so off they go to go rescue the X Men. And here is Spiral with her 6 arms. And look how cool they. Just Arthur Adams is really, really, really cool. Truly wish the dude would draw more. I believe more is better, but unfortunately, he just can't do this level of detail monthly. Um, so you get what you get with Arthur Adams. Turns the crowd into a frogs. Here comes the X-Men to fight the New Mutants, and they've kind of grown up. If you notice, they're no longer children. Magneto kind of turned into a Nazi Gestapo kind of is. Most people know that Magneto is Jewish, and during this time, Magneto was re-aged, but Magneto actually was during the World War II was a prisoner of the Nazis. Um, it has been retconned, but during this time, he had been de-aged and becomes younger due to I believe he was kidnapped with an alien, and he just remade him younger. So this is just kind of he never in a million years would ever dress as a Nazi on his own. So it just shows that he has they're not in control. X-Men are kind of being uh, the bad guys here, and they know that Mojo, so they're trying to just the name Mojo is very cool. Um, they're trying to stop him. Everybody just loves the TV shows that he makes, and he is but he creates that. Um, I don't know what he's meant to represent. He shows up a couple of more times, but he's always all he does is he's trying to make the best shows possible. But he casts a lot of people against their will. So, um, and she wanted to kill him, but he doesn't want the Longshot killed. So he is remaking her or trying to, and he's in control in this world, so it's very hard to beat him. This is a very cool, very simple and very cool pose. You can see that toward the end, Arthur Adams. If you look at his work, you can tell that it starts out super detailed, but it starts to get a less detailed as he starts hitting these deadlines. So he's just not able. This is part of the reason he's not able to do the monthly grind. Is he works slow and he has to take a lot of time, because you can see here that there's just a lack of detail, or at least if you remember from the beginning. The composition is there, but just the marks, you can just see that he's not putting as much an effort. You can see here on the crowd, it's very simple. So part of it is gets hidden by making everything the same color. So if you make everything the same color, you may not notice some of these that he's starting to skimp on some of the details. So again, you can see the deadline is starting to. So that's part of the reason he cannot keep that monthly schedule. Um, but he will. So you can take a look that there's certain panels that you can see that he really uh does. He puts in work. I think these two panels are very strong. Um, so Rogue, of course, she touches at that during this time. She had no control of her powers. She just touches you and absorbs your power and kind of knocks you out. Um, but that kind of starts knocking her some sense into her. I love this. Nowadays, this is computerized that you can do, but back then they would use oh, I forgot the name of this, but screen tones that you could use, and if you ever want to see the old school ones, you can YouTube it. You can on screen tones, and you can see how they used to do it in the old ways. You can still do it, but you can actually your iPad. There's brushes now where you can do these patterns without the need for the screen tones. The inker would do this, so that it wasn't the penciler who had to do this, but the inker. Um, so again, they're trying to get Mojo, and we're gonna hit my favorite panelist coming up. One that I think. So here, notice how hairy Wolverine is. He's so hairy, and she's trying to get Wolverine to break through this spell. So, um, he is. He just love it. This is just amazing. Look at this. Just a lot of marks, a lot of ticks. You can just totally see um, Arthur Adams' influence on them. You think that he is slaughtering her, but he is not. He just used his claws everywhere, but there he's there now. Off he goes. Um, just so hairy, but no, this is my favorite panel in the series. Just the brutality of Wolverine, and he's gonna help everybody. So little by little, everybody's gonna start to feel better. So cool. You see Jim Lee use this a lot. Um, love this composition. Just a simple panel, and then just the arm, the claws. That's all you need. I mean, you know what's gonna happen. Um, and snacked. So snicked is when. So if you take a look, snicked and snacked. When he retracts the claws, is snacked. When he takes them out, is snicked. So that he uses that to um, retract, just kind of snap her out. So here's what I mean about these two being in a kind of in a relationship. He's a teenager, she's an adult. So um, and so little by little, the X-Men are regaining their their memories, and here we go. And Storm kind of for temporarily regains her powers because they're given to her by Mojo. Um, but she does not accept it and uses them to kind of free herself, and the X-Men off they go. Um, and so she's trying to absorb him and kind of make it so that the X-Men get out. So and so they all fight. Just beautiful composition. Even when he's in a deadline crunch, he composes the composition. That part he doesn't skimp on. He will give you a great composition, even if he can't give you a lot of details. He will compose the heck out of it. And so he disappears, and the X-Men are free. Um, don't really have much to say about this. Just kind of uh, typical, typical done one and done story. Just you can see um, there's a conflict, a resolution, and the end. So um, oh, and by the way, Ileana and Colossus are brother and sister too. So um, and they let her go, which it comes back to bite them. But hey, can't. Chris Claremont uses this in future stories. I believe there's one or two more stories with her, but she has a hard on for Wolverine, so she is gonna make him pay. So um and off we go. Everybody's back in the mansion. They're putting the uniforms back in the chest. Sunspot is angry because the X-Men are back and they're relegated back to being the B team while the X-Men are the A team. But she kind of wants him to know that the X-Men would not have been able to return if it wasn't for them. And they're like riding off into the sunset. Peace. So, and Longshot, sorry, forgot his name. Longshot had never apparently seen water, which you know I don't don't believe that for a second, but that's all right. Had never seen water, and then you can see here he gets pushed in. Here's the splash, and um, they noticed that she went back to the Mohawks after she had the hair, and she says that she likes the style. Arthur Adams really gave her a. I mean, he leaned on this Mohawk very, very well. Eventually, Mark Silvestri goes to this. She just. That's a lot of hairspray to keep that hair up, but he goes into this Mohawk. The hair this long, it should fall, but she does not. It's beautiful. How she goes into this. Um, he goes into just he really goes all in on this Mohawk, and this is just a trope of his with the hair. If you Wolverine also has his very cool, very hairy, um, and they basically invite her to join the X-Men, and so off we go. And it turns out that he was still filming them, and everybody loved it, all his subject, and he kind of they're gonna do more. And this is a play on Porky Pig when the cartoons ended, and he said, "That's all, folks." So this was X-Men Annual number 10, written by Claremont, drawn by Arthur Adams. Hope you enjoyed it.